On April 19th, 1930, we would be introduced to the world of Looney Tunes with the very first short, Sinkin' in the Bathtub, about Bosco, the Talk Ink Kid. But 5 years later, we would get a proper introduction with these tunes and what they are capable of with I Haven't Got a Hat, where we got the introduction to Porky Pig. As I would say, Porky Pig is arguably the most important Looney Tunes character. More important than Bugs Bunny, and more important than Daffy Duck. He was the first true star of the franchise, and his stardom would also lead to a lot of other characters like Bugs, Daffy, Elmer, Yosemite Sam, Foghorn Leghorn, Tweety, Sylvester, and so many more to create an impact on today's society with these characters having so much entertainment value. And when it comes down to the Looney Tunes, I love them. I love the Looney Tunes. Up there with Tom and Jerry is some of my favorite classic cartoon franchises. It's funny, it has a lot of smart, witty dialogue, and it's just an overall good vibe. And what we got after the original short was something interesting. After the original shorts ended, Warner Brothers tried to find different ways to keep the franchise alive, whether it be with, repurposing the shorts as compilation films from the 70s to the 80s, as well as bringing in the 90s with stuff like Tiny Toon Adventures, Tasmania, Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries, and of course, Space Jam. This film, while being not the best in terms of writing, it was still an entertaining movie that was successful enough in becoming one of the highest grossing basketball films of all time. Its success would eventually be the downfall of Looney Tunes in a way, as Warner Brothers wanted to recapture the magic of what made Space Jam good. In 2003, we would get another live-action hybrid movie with Looney Tunes back in action. The film itself was unfortunately riddled with so much corporate meddling that the film has sadly flopped hard, and was one of the last few things that we got from the Looney Tunes for a very long time. I mean, sure, we did have a few TV shows from the 2000s like Duck Dodgers, Baby Looney Tunes, and the infamous Lunatics Unleashed. It wasn't enough to keep the franchise, that successful. It wasn't until in 2011 where we got a resurgence a little bit with the Looney Tunes show, a more down-to-earth sitcom-style show featuring these characters. And sooner or later in 2015, we would go back to basics with Wabbit, soon later known as New Looney Tunes, which this would be a series that would focus more on the classic format from the original shorts. And in 2020, we would get Looney Tunes cartoons, a much better version of what Wabbit was trying to do. And dare I say, it's honestly a welcoming show. It feels so nice. It reminds me so much of Mickey Mouse 2013, where it's a nice throwback wall of great reintroduction to what made these characters, great. And the reason why I bring up Looney Tunes cartoons, because today I'll be talking about what I can arguably say is the best Looney Tunes movie, The Day the Earth Blew Up. Before this film, Looney Tunes had a very interesting history when it came down to feature films. Like I said, we had the compilation movies from the 70s and 80s, and they were enjoyable for the most part. I wouldn't say they were fantastic, but they were definitely, a sight to behold. Some of them were pretty entertaining, my favorite ones being the first two Bugs Bunny movies and Daffy Duck's Quackbusters. Then we go to the live-action hybrid movies. Space Jam isn't that good of a movie, but it is enjoyable for what it is. Back in Action, by default, was the best Looney Tunes movie, and while I still have some enjoyment over it, and I still think it's a good movie over Space Jam, it does have issues, and you can definitely tell that there was a lot of corporate meddling with that film. And then there's Space Jam: A New Legacy, a film that I could definitely say I kind of like. It is a guilty pleasure. I think the movie definitely does a lot better than the first in a lot of areas. Such as being a movie per se, than just a feature-length commercial. I at least give A New Legacy that it was trying to be a movie as well as pay tribute to the original film. But for everything else, when it comes down to other films like direct-to-video, I haven't seen enough of them to give a full opinion on, but I do know that some of them have some kind of follow-up. But with that being said, The Day the Earth Blew Up is easily the best Looney Tunes movie for one reason and one reason only. It is a true Looney Tunes film. Again, nothing against the other films that we had before, but this one feels like there was a lot of love and passion put into this one, where the others, especially the live action ones, just feel like they have to have a human interact with the tunes because the tunes themselves probably won't be like star treatment. But no, this film proves that the tunes can work as the main characters. And let's get into the plot. The movie follows Porky Pig and Daffy Duck as they grow up as brothers and best friends, being raised by a man named Farmer Jim. As Farmer Jim goes away, he tells Porky and Daffy that they need to stick by each other no matter what. And as they get into adulthood, but Porky and Daffy accidentally fail their house inspection, and before they can't live in a home, they have to get jobs to make sure that they can fix the roof. So they get a job working at the bubblegum factory with Petunia Pig. And as working at the factory, Daffy notices something strange, as soon the gum will soon turn everybody in town into mind-numbing zombies. So it's up to the trio to save the world from an alien invader who seems to be controlling the townsfolk with bubblegum. The movie does a really great job paying tribute to the B-movies of the 1950s, giving that nice sci-fi horror homage, as well as being a nice tribute to how the classic cartoons were back in that time period. Porky and Daffy in this movie are a very great duo, and definitely one of my favorite pairings in the franchise. I'm glad that we got to see this more often when compared to Bugs and Daffy, a pairing that we see a lot in the franchise. But here, this duo is just perfect. I like how they have a true brother bond in this film. They really see each other's family, and definitely, you can't have one without the other with these two. And Eric Bauza does a really great job playing both Porky and Daffy, especially seeing how Bob Bergen, who's been voicing the character for almost 35 years, not voicing him in this, it was a little strange at first, but I got quickly used to Bowser's performance as the pig. Same with Candy Milo as Petunia. Petunia is a really good character, and it's crazy that as someone who's been arguably one of the oldest Looney Tunes female characters, has not gotten that much of a huge treatment or huge spotlight in the franchise outside of a few, and I mean a few projects. Seeing her in this film alongside Daffy and Porky is just amazing. And it's nice that we actually get to see her have more of a personality, with this time with her being sort of this quirky scientist. It reminds me a lot of Cindy Bear from Jellystone. I really like how they practically gave her a new personality, like how they gave Lola a new personality in the Looney Tunes show. Speaking of the other characters, I'll just say this now, don't expect to see other Looney Tunes characters. What you get is from Porky, Daffy, and Petunia. Everyone else in the film are original characters. So we have Farmer Jim, the scientist, and the invader. Farmer Jim is the father figure of both Porky and Daffy. In the beginning, we see him taking care of the duo, helping them grow up and just making sure that they are taking care of themselves. And I'll just say it right now, he's arguably one of the funniest characters in the film, mainly because of the fact that he is just this still image. Then we have the scientist, and I'll admit, he is one of the weaker characters in the film. He's not a bad character, but I feel like in terms of the main characters in the movie that we have, he is one of the weaker ones. Still though, he was pretty good in the film, I should say. Then we have the invader, which he is the main antagonist, which he does play off a really good funny performance thanks to Peter McNichol doing this kind of sort of immature voice for the alien. And I'm honestly kind of glad that they didn't cop out by using Marvin the Martian, which, nothing against Marvin, one of my favorites, but it was nice to know that, they were able, the new characters in the movie were able to be as entertaining as the pre-established ones that we've had for almost 90 years. Now we can get into arguably one of the best things in this movie, the animation and the comedy. It is so nice to see another 2D animated film in theaters. Okay, I guess one that isn't in anime? Okay, one that is produced by Warner Brothers in theaters. Okay, that's just cheating. But either way, it is nice to see another 2D animated movie in theaters, and this movie just looks genuinely fantastic. The fact that this movie has a budget of $15 million proves that, man, there was no corporate meddling with this at all. You could tell that the animators had fun doing every sequence in this movie. From the action, from the sci-fi, from the overall zaniness of this film, it just looks awesome. And the way how they kind of bring back that 1940s style from Tex Avery and Bob Clampett, it just looks so good. It's a nice update from Looney Tunes cartoons, as seeing how that show paid homage to the 1940s for that era of the franchise. And if I had to say my favorite part of this movie in general, it has to be the sequence, the powerhouse sequence, when Porky and Daffy are working at the bubblegum factory. It is such good movement, such good line work, it just looks perfect. And as for the jokes, this movie is jam-packed full of them. We have a lot of zaniness, a lot of fourth wall gags. This movie just genuinely has a lot of moments where you will be laughing a lot. Sure, there are a few jokes that didn't land, such as the fact that, we have to be reminded that this movie is taking place in the modern setting, despite it having that 1940s aesthetic. Like, no, we have cell phones, we have a lot of some lingo, and we had a whole scene of Daffy trying to be an influencer. So, take it how you can. So, as I stated at the beginning of the video, I said that Porky Pig is the most important Looney Tunes character. And I said that because, he was, the character that established what the franchise was going to be going forward. And I'll say that the franchise going forward with Porky, I will definitely say that he was being treated as a sidekick to a lot of other characters. More as the punching bag, the butt monkey, the one that always gets the joke on. And I absolutely love that he gets top billing in this alongside Daffy. If the Space Jam movies are Bugs' films and Back in Action is Daffy's film, this film is Porky's, and it's definitely shown here. He gets a lot of major development in this movie, as in the film, you could definitely tell that while he obviously loves Daffy as his friend, as his brother, he also kind of wants to do some things on his own. Set in the movie, I'll admit, there were a few things that made him a little bit unlikable, such as trying to stop Daffy from being himself, or the fact that he was practically trying to not have Daffy around him when he was trying to get close to Petunia. And speaking of which, I do love the relationship that he has with Petunia in this movie. It is straight up adorable. Like, these are just two fun dorks, and I just love seeing every scene together with them. And speaking of which, I can definitely say that the one aspect about this movie that just really makes this film honestly fun to watch is the fact that there's been so much love put into this that it's hard to imagine that Warner Brothers was willing to let this film be shelved. Overall, The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie, is the best Looney Tunes film out there. This is a love letter, a nice homage to the classic franchise that we all grew up watching, that we all seen on television, whether it be on VHS, DVD, anywhere. This is just a fun homage to the classics, and I definitely recommend to go see this movie, especially when you can. Seeing how Twitter and other social medias have been stating that they want to see this movie, go see this movie, because it will prove to Warner Brothers that these characters are still worth seeing on the big screen. And seeing how Ketchup Entertainment is in talks of getting Coyote vs. Acme, anything is possible. I give The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie, a 10 out of 10.